welcome to another brand new episode of Dingers and Stingers, the podcast that, for the most part, did not enjoy the experience of being a Mariner fan. Short-lived as it was. Some of us were there in that moment, and it was not fun. So we are going to get to what happened in the rest of the championship series since we last recorded. That's later in the show. There is also another emergency fan corner coming your way. What could have happened? Who is going to speak on it? Let's wait to find out. But first, we are joined by one of our very good amigos, one of our very good friends. Horacio is here to talk World Series with us. We have brought him on. He's here always, really, in the background, to be fair. He's always here, but today we have him live in person. We're going to talk World Series with him because his Los Angeles Dodgers are one half of the World Series. So welcome, Horacio. What's up, man? How you doing?
Hello. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk baseball.
All right. Awesome. So let's get to it. That's our matchup. Dodgers Blue Jays. We have the World Series matchup now after an incredible Game 7 up in Toronto. The Blue Jays punched their ticket. So here we are. It starts the day we're recording this is Tuesday, so it starts in a couple days here. We are going to breeze right through everything that we think about this matchup. And so we're going to start with the Dodgers since we have Horacio here. We're going to give Dodgers first crack at our thoughts here. So where I want to start is by going a little bit back, just a little bit, because something happened in Game 4 that we didn't get the chance to talk about yet, and I want to get Horacio's lead on this. So Dodger fans are getting their first look at two-way Shohei in a Dodger uniform this year. He did not pitch last year, and so later part of this year and in the playoffs he's done it, and that includes Game 4. So Horacio, kind of take us through Game 4 and your experience with this insane, incredible outing that Shohei had.
So again, I think it's every time just reminding us that this is not normal. This is literally a generational player in all kinds of shapes and forms. I think one home run is pretty impressive, especially if you're throwing 100 miles an hour in the mound. But then when you add another one and then another one, and then quite literally just one game is the reason why you're the NLCS MVP is kind of insane. I don't know. I think it's not real. It's not real. It's like video game stuff. That's what I would do in a video game and make my guy super strong, make him the best player, and he's doing it in real life in the highest level ever. I think it's just really funny how just one game can really just change a player or just how people look at a player, because Ohtani has kind of been struggling a lot this postseason, especially because the Phillies, even a little bit of the Reds, but a lot of the Brewers were just really capitalized on his just throwing left-handed pitching towards him. I think he was 2 for 11 before Game 4, and then he just wins NLCS MVP. So again, I don't know. It's great. I'm so happy he's a Dodger.
I was gonna say, wasn't he batting 190 heading into that game or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
His postseason numbers were really pedestrian.
Yeah, they were bad. Yeah, it was kind of what's going on? Does he need to fix something? I think the reports were saying that he took batting practice outside of the cage. So he's notorious for just doing tee work. That's all he does. He just hits 100-mile-per-hour balls off a tee, which is insane in itself. And so then he goes outside and does BP with the rest of the common folk, and then hits just a bomb over wherever part of the park, and then does it in a real game too. So we'll see. I think it was a good unlocking game, and hopefully that bleeds into this next series.
And let's not forget, 6 shutout innings, 10 strikeouts on the mound.
Sorry.
I mean, that's that alone. I mean, it kind of goes with all the other Dodger starting pitchers so far this postseason, but that alone is reason to be patient with him at the plate, because it's okay, he's on the mound giving you this. But then, of course, the 3 home runs, and they were not cheap home runs either. All 3 of them were over 400 feet, absolute bombs. So, I mean, it's just, I think sometimes someone like me who's not a Dodger fan and not an Angels fan, like maybe you can kind of get fatigue with Shohei because he's the best player, so he gets talked about more than anyone else, and he's this international star and everything. It's easy to kind of get numb to it, but like he still does things, and this game was a reminder that's like, oh yeah, no one has done this. Like he gets Babe Ruth comps a lot because Babe Ruth used to pitch. Babe Ruth never did stuff like this, and obviously a totally different era and all that anyways, but and just the fact that since he's come up as well, we haven't seen an influx of these guys just proves that it's not easy to do, and he's doing both of them at the absolute highest level. It's just kind of unfathomable that that this guy exists.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yep. Look, a lot of people have been talking about, they reference his 50-50 game when he went 6 for 6. In that game, I think he also had 3 home runs in that game, and that definitely was one of his greatest games. But I think one of his it was one of his greatest days. Was actually a doubleheader when he was with the Angels and against the Tigers. He pitched a complete game shutout in the first game, and then he hit in the second game, and he hit 2 home runs. And so, this is, I just haven't heard anyone mention that one. And I'm surprised no one remembers it. It was just regular season against the Tigers. But, before the Tigers were a thing. But I just wanted to mention it because he's done something like this before in a single day, but not in a single game yet. And it's just, why not, right? Why not this as well for him? So, all right. So that's great. So it sets up to where we will see him on the mound and at the plate in the same game again this series for sure. But let's pivot now. I want to get a Dodgers fan's perspective on this and then your guys' perspective. What do we think is the Blue Jays' biggest weakness that the Dodgers can attack? So if you're a Dodgers fan, what's making you salivate when you look at the Blue Jays and you're like, we're going to bounce on this?
Yeah, I think I did my research. Let's just make sure I was ready for this. And it's Blue Jays have no left-handed pitching. At least to the extent of, especially I think the Phillies were the biggest one for biggest challenge for Ohtani. And maybe, I guess the Brewers, they kind of teetered away from him, intentional walks and all those things. But this is quite literally at least for the starting pitching for the Blue Jays. It's Gosman, Scherzer, Elias Savage, and Chris Bassett. So again, those are all right-handed pitchers. That sounds delicious to my left-handed hitters. That's Max Muncy, Freddie Freeman, Tommy Edman, obviously a switch hitter, but still, he's actually more power on the right side, but still left-handed. Again, he's not trying to hit up, bombs like Ohtani. He's just trying to go up the middle. And then again, yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. At least in terms of knowing. Again, it's not that the Blue Jays don't have any left-handed pitching, but they didn't really do that well in this Mariners series either. The stats I have is Mason Fluharty. He pitched in 4 games, and he did only 2.1 innings and 1 earned run. Eric Lauder did 1 inning, no earned runs. But then Brendan Little had a .1 inning, so he only got 1 out and gave up 3 earned runs. Again, there are some pretty big key left-handed bats in the Mariners lineup, which I'm sure those were the ones that were being targeted the most, specifically in specific lanes. So again, I just think that the way Dave Roberts kind of constructs this lineup, there will be no 2 left-handed hitters back to back. It will be spread out throughout the lineup.
Yeah, I mean that's absolutely you're right, and I think just to expand on that. The quality of the Blue Jays pitching in general compared to the Brewers, but especially to the Phillies, is just not at the same level. Kevin Gossman's a really solid starting pitcher, and Trey Savage is young and he's had his moments so far in the postseason. But overall, they're not facing anyone as good as Christopher Sanchez, as good as Jesus Luzardo, as good as Freddie Peralta. And then the Brewers are just, a team that can pitch regardless if you know the names or not. You're not getting any of that, and I think that's a huge advantage to the Dodgers. We saw in the ALCS, the Mariners' biggest stars, Julio Rodriguez and Cal Raleigh, both had really good series. They hit a lot of home runs. They came up in big moments. That to me is a good sign for the Dodgers because it's like, okay, they struggled to pitch to these guys, and Cal Raleigh could win an MVP this year. Shohei Ohtani is definitely going to win an MVP this year. Mookie Betts has an MVP. Freddie Freeman has an MVP. Like, this is a lineup that is stronger than the Mariners, and the Mariners lineup in the games that they won really came through against this Blue Jays rotation. So I think that bodes well for the Dodgers.
Yeah, and I would even chip in on the other side, right? Like, you guys are honing in so much on Blue Jays pitching, but like the big narrative that I kept hearing out of the NLCS was like, okay, we've got the David versus Goliath, and even the Brewers manager came out and he's like, we got a bunch of no-name nobodies out here, and like, but we come out and we perform, we do all this stuff. The Blue Jays give me a very similar vibe when it comes to looking at their lineup, and we saw what the Dodgers did pitching-wise in that series. I mean, those games, relatively speaking, were not the most competitive, and obviously it ended up just being a sweep. But you look at the Blue Jays and you're like, okay, everyone probably knows Springer. Obviously, at this point, if you didn't already, you know Vladdy now. And then outside of that, you're hoping people recognize like Alejandro Kirk? Like, the name value isn't there, and it's a lot of guys who've been kind of putting on, not like streaky runs for this postseason, but, I saw it was like Ernie Clement, he bats like 8th or 9th in their lineup, and he's batting like 600 against the Mariners or something like that. And it's just like, you get these performances from these kind of like random places, and with the talent that the Dodgers have in their pitching, I just don't think that it allows for that type of situation to happen. And they proved that, against the Brewers. The Brewers went out and decimated the Cubs, like just embarrassed the Cubs. And that lineup then comes out against the Dodgers and looks entirely flat. What was it? The worst OPS by a major league team in a postseason series ever, I believe was the stat. And so, yeah, I look at that, and to me, I even think, you got to be looking at the Blue Jays lineup as like, okay, there's maybe like one guy we really need to pitch around. And if you can just make that happen, what damage is that lineup going to do? Because I just don't see somebody on that Blue Jays lineup outside of Vladdy who I'm like, yeah, he can beat the Dodgers. Like, it's pretty much pitch around Vladdy and you got it.
I know Springer brings up some bad memories, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe he'll get in their head.
Yeah.
Bat in line, lead up. Someone's got to get in there with the big trash cans and see if it rattles them.
Oh, they'll be there.
I guarantee that's going to happen. For sure, that's going to happen. But yeah, that's a little like, that's kind of maybe an underrated narrative here, is that it's a Dodgers chance to get some revenge on one of the guys from that Astros team. But from a fan perspective, just before we move on to the next question, from a fan perspective, what are the other, like, is there other hidden beef with Blue Jays players that I don't know about? Like, what are there any other narratives that you can think of that are
Drake?
It's Canada. Oh, and Drake. Right. So, you got to be bumping the "not like us," right? Yeah. When you're you got to be bumping that when you're in Los Angeles for sure. Those games. But anything else that I'm missing? Maybe.
I don't think
Scherzer
so.
Scherzer was on the 2019 Nats that knocked out the Dodgers, but I don't know if they.
I do know that Don Mattingly is the hitting coach for the Blue Jays, and he just was known. He was our coach from like, I think 2010 to 2015, or just for a good couple years. Never got to the World Series as a player. Never got to the World Series as a coach. So this is the first time he's ever been in the World Series, which is kind of, I don't know. I kind of liked him. I don't know. I didn't dislike the guy, but it's like whatever. It's like, just another obstacle to pass us. I think in the Dodger circles, it was like, there was always like a Dodger player on the other team that we had to get through. So the first one was Gavin Lux, and it's like, oh yeah, sorry Gavin Lux, World Series champion, and you're gone. And then let me see, Phillies. I can't think of the top of my head right now.
Buehler.
Yes, Walker Buehler, who didn't even throw one single pitch in the division series. And then I'm pretty sure there was a Brewers one too. I just can't remember from the top of my head, but yeah, I think so. I think it's just I know there's a lot of no names on the Blue Jays, but I think that's again like the same mentality that Pat Murphy did for the Brewers. The Dodgers know these guys. Like these are not nobodies. They are major leaguers for a reason, and I think they will be treated with the same respect as any other lineup.
So last question on the Dodgers before we move on to the Blue Jays. And so I think we all know the Dodgers did very well this regular season. I'm not saying they didn't, but we kind of expected them to come into this regular season and really just not, there was no 100-win team, but we kind of expected the Dodgers to be, that team for sure. And they just weren't as dominant as we expected them to be throughout the regular season. But this postseason has been nothing for them, essentially. Like it's just been, easy dub after easy dub. So what changed between the regular season and the postseason that made it like this so far?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, obviously, and I think that's what we can all agree on, is the starting pitching. Like that just took off. Our bullpen, obviously, that's a whole different conversation and has been just bad in general. But our starting pitching has just taken completely over to the point where, hey, we just need to rely on maybe one or two guys in the bullpen instead of 9 options that you typically have in a bullpen or in a starting pitch or in a pitching staff. Sorry. So I think that is truly what has kind of come to play. We're healthy. I think when we faced the Brewers, when we got swept by the Brewers for both series during the regular season, we did not have any of our starting pitching that we have today. Ohtani wasn't pitching yet. I believe Yamamoto was pitching, but he got clipped for one of those games. He didn't even get out the first inning. Snell was not around. Glasnow was not around. So again, it's just health. It's been health. Like we're healthy, and again, we're just juiced up, starting pitching now, and it's just we're riding it until we die, right? Until the wheels come off. And I think that's just again that's truly the biggest difference. There are a couple players that definitely have picked it up as well. Maybe. Again, you just expect this person to always be good, but Mookie Betts has clearly just played a whole different game. I believe I don't remember the exact numbers, but his first 100 games horrible, and then he was kind of like, "Hey, I'm done. I don't care about my season anymore. My season's over. I'm just gonna focus on helping the team." And he's been one of our more consistent hitters in this lineup. And obviously, again, it's just those. I wouldn't call them small names because they're pretty big names, especially on our team. But again, the Kike Hernandezes, the Max Muncies, the Tommy Edmonds, like those guys just show up, right? They're what keep the lineup going. And people are, obviously scared of the 3 MVPs and the first 3. But then you have to face, an all-star catcher like Will Smith, and then a really good right fielder in terms of hitting, maybe not in defense, but in Teoscar Hernandez. And then and Eddie Pajes is, at least he has a good arm for now. And then again, just not expecting much from the bottom and then providing has been really, really good for us.
Yeah, I think
I'll tell you what,
Dodgers...
I would give anything for my 9-hole hitter to be Andy Pajes.
Right.
As a Padres fan this year, I watched a lot of really, really, really rough 9-hole hitting, famously getting almost 1,000 at-bats, it felt like, from Martin Maldonado. So, the back of the lineup, a bunch of nobodies, but boy, would I have loved them.
It seemed like the Dodgers almost treated the regular season as a really, really extended spring training. You knew they would be in the playoffs. They never really seemed to have that urgency to go on a big run and be the number 1 seed or anything like that. They were just, let's keep our guys ready. I mean, the way they handled Shohei returning to pitch was unlike any pitcher we've seen return from Tommy John. And now part of that is he can't go down to the minor leagues and do a rehab assignment when he's still hitting at the major league level. But they were just so careful with everyone, and they just never, there were stretches where it's like, oh, the Dodgers have lost kind of a lot of games recently. And it just seemed like from the Dodgers point of view, there was never a panic or anything. It was like, no, we'll be fine. And I always bought into that. Exactly what you said. If you have those 4 starting pitchers healthy for the playoffs, you're going to compete with anyone. In fact, you're going to be overmatched against most people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no question. I think that is a great way to put a button on the Dodgers for now. We'll get back to them when we make our prediction in maybe a little bit. But let's go to the Blue Jays side now, because there's for better or for worse, there's another team in here. And one more team has to go up against the Dodgers, and it's the Blue Jays. So we'll start with the ALCS MVP, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. He has found his way to a World Series in his first season after signing an extension to stay in Toronto. The flat question is, he was ALCS MVP for a reason. He was absolutely dominant in that series for the most part. The statistics tell the story, but how dominant can we expect him to be in the World Series, going up against this entirely different looking, pitching unit than one he's faced so far?
I mean, he'll still be the Blue Jays' best hitter. He'll be the toughest out for the Dodgers. He'll be the scariest guy if there is, a close game late in the game. But like I was talking about with the reverse of this, he's going to be facing starting pitching that is better than anything he saw against the Yankees and better than anything he saw against the Mariners. And so do I expect him to stay on the current pace? Not really, to be honest. But he's just such a good player. I expect some moments from him in this series. Is he enough? I don't think so. But I expect Vlad on the biggest stage will show up and he'll be himself. And I'm not expecting a big, whoa, Vlad was tearing up the playoffs and then he got to the World Series and went 0 for 15 or whatever. I'm not expecting that at all.
For a team that's so top heavy, at least offensively, it feels like, again, like the Blue Jays, I'm for sure of this crew here the least experienced, baseball fan. I haven't been following quite as long as the rest of you guys, but is there a precedent set against intentional walking? I'm genuinely just curious, because it feels like at some point, again, he's not surrounded by any batters that I think would put fear in any pitcher. And granted, like you said, the pitching is even better, so maybe it is just star versus star. They're still just going to play it. But at the end of the day, I'm the risk of having a first baseman, getting intentionally walked to first, it's not like he's going to go out there and steal a bag every time he's out. The risk doesn't feel that high, and I just wonder from an actual strategy standpoint, I don't know, what do you guys think? Because I just genuinely look at this lineup and I'm Vladimir Guerrero is the only chance I really give the Blue Jays of doing significant damage to the Dodgers. I don't see any way this series looks even close, if not for heroics from him.
Yeah, I think if that bat matters and there's a base open, they'll walk him. I think it's simple as that. If it's the third inning and it's a close game or whatever and there's nobody on base, yeah, they'll pitch to him. Why not? They have good pitchers. But if he gets late in a game and he's up in a big spot, he's going to get walked every time.
Yeah, I agree. I think. Oh, can you guys hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sorry. My little box wasn't glowing. I think. I don't know. I think at least the biggest thing, obviously, is you just want to make sure that if he's up to bat, like Drew said, there is no way he can do more damage than just himself, right? If I would take solo home runs every day. That's kind of what happened to the Mariners. The Mariners were hitting bombs, but no one was on base for them, especially when Cal Riley was on up to bat, right? So I think that will be probably the biggest priority, is just limiting his damage. And again, that's not even limiting it with him. It's also getting that bottom order out. Again, it's always the walk, right? It could be 2 outs and you walk the ninth hitter or the first, or I guess in this case it would be Springer because he's the leadoff hitter, right? Those are the ones that really hurt, and that's where the damage can come in. So it's just trying to limit, because he's not again, people say I think he's a home run hitter, but I don't think he considers himself as a home run hitter. He's a line drive, and then sometimes those balls just end up over the fence. So I think again it's just limiting how much are on the bases when he's up there. But actually, I would say I think we're going after him. I don't know, like we can't be scared. Like you like sure there are levels to this, and again he's not Barry Bonds, right? Like that's the only person I'd actually be terrified, right? Or even Shohei, like you gotta go for him. You gotta attack. Like it is impossible to avoid a player of that caliber for a 7-game series. Like you're gonna have to hit him. You're gonna have to go after him, right? So I don't know. I think I would.
I hear you say a 7-game series.
Oh no, definitely not 7. I just meant like it could in a 7-game series.
Oh, check the tape. I think I did hear 7.
I could tell you, I don't think it's going 7.
I don't think any of us do, but we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, I think I kind of agree with that at this point. My attitude about it is maybe I'm finding out. I don't know what school it is anymore. Like, am I old school? Am I new school? Am I middle school? Like, I don't know what school I'm in, but I am. If I have Blake Snell and I have Tyler Glasnow and I have Yoshinobu Yamamoto, I want them. I want them going after him. Like it's my guy versus your guy, and if your guy beats my guy, tip, and then let's get the lead back. Like obviously there are situations where that'd be stupid. It'd be stupid not to intentionally walk him, in certain cases, but in most situations, I think I lean to the side of I want to see my guy go after him, and the Dodgers have 4 guys like that, and so that's what I want to see them do. Obviously, I want to see that because I just want to see the best players go up against each other, and then whoever wins. But I don't have anything invested in it, but that's what I want to see. But we'll see what happens. I think Dave Roberts is a plenty smart manager, so he knows what's up for the most part. So we'll see how he handles that. But moving forward now, we asked this question about the Blue Jays, and now I want to ask it about the Dodgers. What is the Dodgers' biggest weakness that the Blue Jays might be able to attack on their side? So same question, but reverse the sides here.
Yeah, I'll go first. I think, first of all, weakness is going to be in quotations because the Dodgers are as strong of a team through and through as we've seen. But if there was going to be one little inkling of like hope for the Blue Jays, it's that the Blue Jays are not a team that strikes out very often. They're good at putting the ball in play. And the Dodgers are not the strongest defensive team. Now, that's not the case all over the field. Mookie Betts was an amazing defensive shortstop this year. Freddie Freeman's a really good defensive first baseman. Like, they have guys who can obviously make the plays. But if there was ever one kind of little advantage to the Blue Jays, it's that they are good at putting the ball in play. They're good at putting pressure on the defense. I know Vladdy himself is not that fast, but they've got speed on that team. That could be cause for some chaos with the Dodgers on defense sometimes. But this is kind of probably the same thing a lot of people would have said about the Brewers before they played the Dodgers as well. And we saw how that went. When you face the best of the best pitching, it doesn't really matter how good you are at not striking out. You're going to strike out a lot more anyways. And when you put the ball in play, you're not going to hit it that hard. So, I know we're kind of like maybe doing spoilers here for like what our predictions for the series are, but I do think it's kind of a mismatch. But if there was one little lane for the Blue Jays, that would be it.
Yeah, I think for me, even with that, again, it's still a topic of conversation just because, again, the Dodgers bullpen was this big problem like in the last couple months of the season, and even kind of showed its ugly face a little bit in these previous series as well. Again, Roki is great. I don't know if we want to send our 23-year-old phenom, to just blow out his arm for 4 games, right? When we want him to be a starting pitcher for the next 5 years or whatever time we have him. So again, I think It's just seeing what arms are truly good and which ones we can rely on. Again, if it's big pivotal moment, like who are we going to go to? Is it going to be Blake Trinan, Alex Vesia, Anthony Banda, or Tanner Scott? Right? What in the world is going on with Tanner Scott? Right? I think I saw reports that he had surgery on his butt and he's trying to be ready for the World Series. So we'll see what happens with him. I don't know. Again, like, it's kind of the same mentality as I don't know. I kind of relating to you, Dallas, of like old school, middle school, the new school. Like, dude, let's just play some ball. Let's see what happens. Like, obviously, be a little bit strategic on what we know who's going to be pitching who. But hey, you guys are professionals. Let's do the pitches. If it doesn't work out, that's just the game. Like you can't run away from this game. This game is going to catch you up eventually. And then just before I give it off to you, Matt, one thing is Dodgers defense. We again, like Drew talked a little bit about how the Blue Jays put the ball in play. Obviously, if you're striking out a lot, there's no way you put the ball in play. But just putting the ball in play can definitely put some strain. I don't know if this is gonna be a big thing or not, but turf, right? I don't know. When I was, again, this is my high school only experience, right? Not on a major league level. Like, turf was kind of weird, right? It would bounce and have these weird hops, and you would run up to it and you're like, oh, it's gonna land in front of my face, and it ends up going over your head or just right past your glove. So again, I know that Teoscar played there for a couple years, or actually for a good amount of time. So I'm not worried about him. I'm kind of worried about Andy Pages, just because again he actually had a really big problem when he went to Fenway. He had no way to figure out how to play the Green Monster. So again, it's going to be nice for them to get there, survey the field and kind of see again how the ball comes off the bat, how it rolls off the field. But again, those are like little minuscule things that I'm like, oh my god, if we don't do this, it's gonna get even worse. But I don't know. I think I don't think it's gonna be that bad.
My favorite thing there is hearing the mention of Tanner Scott, who Padres Twitter laughably calls the secret Padre still. But yeah, I mean, you guys both kind of hit on, I think, the Dodgers' only visible weaknesses, being they are not the best defensive team, and I say all of this with air quotes. They are not the best defensive team, and they are not the best bullpen. All that being said, I think those are still the things you got to attack, right? Like if you're the Blue Jays, it is sticking to what has worked for you so far. You have to be a team that doesn't strike out. You've got pitchers like Blake Snell who have been amazing in playoffs. As someone with close experience watching Blake Snell a lot, there's also the reality of games where he ends up with 87 pitches through 3 innings. Like, these guys who are kind of these swing and miss pitchers, they often have tendencies, if you can get to them, to really just kind of like stack up their pitch count early in games. And if you can start getting into that Dodgers bullpen and you can start having more advantageous matchups, that's where I think you can do damage and hopefully keep pace with the Dodgers. But if you're letting their starting pitching go 7-8 innings deep every game, yeah, I mean, what can you expect? That's for any team, right? Like if a starting pitcher goes 7 or 8 innings, you're probably gonna lose. Like, and that's any pitcher. That's not just the Dodgers starters. So yeah, I do think that they just really need to stay disciplined, because the best way to beat the Dodgers is either to be a hero or to really just stack up the pitch count.
Yeah, I think all great points. What the little things could possibly have to do with swinging some games in this series. But we talked a little bit about our last topic for the Blue Jays, so I'll skip to the qualifying question that I have for this. We've talked about the Blue Jays lineup a little bit already here and there, what we think about it. We kind of tipped the fact that we don't really think that it poses too much of a threat, at least on paper, based on what we've seen to the Dodgers pitching. But I will say, and just want to ask, does the potential availability of Beau Bichette move the needle for you at all? I don't know how they'd use him or what the plan would be coming out of whatever injury that he's coming out of, but does the potential availability of him move the needle for anybody on the lineup here?
Inherently, yes, but to what degree, I think is really what's up to debate. Obviously, Beau Bichette at his best is a fantastic contact guy, and he can get on base and he can make some plays. And at the end of the day, it's I don't know. Again, it's yes, moves the needle. It's a positive, probably inherently for the Blue Jays, but I don't know that it even changes how many games I predict the series goes in. Like, I don't know that it matters ultimately, but moves the needle, of course.
Yeah, it's interesting because they haven't had him for the whole playoff so far. So what they've been doing is they play Andres Jimenez at shortstop, and then different guys play second. It was Isaiah Kiner-Falefa the last couple games. And offensively, you would think Beau Bichette is a huge upgrade over IKF. But Beau Bichette hasn't played a major league game since September 6th, I believe. And so, like, there's no chance for a rehab or something. He can do all the drills and whatnot that he can, but, like, all of a sudden you're thrown to the wolves with four of the best starting pitchers in Major League Baseball going at you. So, like, do I expect him to be significantly better than what IKF will give you on offense? I don't think I reasonably can expect that. And then on defense, there's no doubt you're getting a downgrade. Andres Jimenez is one of the best defensive infielders, and he'll be out there no matter what, whether it's short or second. But Beau Bichette is not a very strong defensive player. So I don't know, maybe they DH him, but then you're losing some outfield defense with how they shuffle things around. So to me, it moves it a little bit, but then it kind of moves it back down when you think about all the implications of it, where it kind of ends up as a net neutral move. But if you're the Blue Jays, you've got to try to utilize him because, like Matt said, at his best, he's a much better hitter than a lot of the guys in the lineup.
Yeah, I think kind of what they will probably do is I think he will probably be in the lineup maybe game one. And I think they're just going to see what happens. Like, hey, is this guy going to be a good option for us? If he does DH, I believe that pushes George Springer to the outfield, and that is a 36-year-old man on one knee, basically. So again, it just kind of makes it a little bit more difficult. It's kind of also the idea of like, you guys gotten this far without him. Do you guys really need him? But again, it's also he like led the league in hits as well, so it's not like you're adding a rando like defensive player, right? This is an offensive player that can definitely take a little bit of load off of Vladdy and that top lineup. I think, yeah, I don't know. Sorry, yeah. So I think the point what I was trying to say is again I think the Blue Jays are really good at what I noticed this previous series is they had what's his name again? Santander. He played maybe the first or two games and he was bad. And then they benched him. They're like, all right, we don't need you. Like, you're not doing good. You're like, we're going to do something else.
Took him off the roster, so he's unavailable for this round as well.
Yeah. So, again, I think that just shows, again, they're kind of the team that, again, which is maybe kind of nice as a fan of like, hey, like, well, let's see who's on. Oh, that's who's playing today? Cool. Like, I feel okay with that. But, again, I think it's going to be a coin flip. And we'll probably dictate what his efforts will be in the series with that first game.
And to be fair, the three main left-hand hitters that you think of with the Dodgers, Shohei, Freeman, Muncy, if they're hitting the ball, you don't really need a good defensive player out there because it's just going over anyways. Like, at some point you can kind of stick an old man out there to fit another guy in the lineup, in my opinion.
Sure.
Yeah, that way for sure. Absolutely. But, okay, so I think we've talked enough about, what's going on. Let's make some predictions. It's prediction time. Horacio, we will not put you in a position to jinx if you don't want to, but feel free to make a prediction if you want. But start with Drew and then go to Matt. Who do you have and how many games?
Yeah, it's no surprise based on this conversation, but I have the Dodgers winning the series, and I actually have them winning it in 5. I don't think it's going to make it back to Toronto. If I had to get specific, I would say maybe the Glasnow start is the one that the Blue Jays win, or maybe the Yamamoto one because they'll be at home, and he had a kind of a stinker against the Phillies in the first round. But really, it's kind of a courtesy victory I'm giving the Blue Jays. Like I trust they got this far, they'll get one on the board, but I just think the Dodgers are a much better team, and I would have felt the same way if it was the Mariners, if it was the Yankees, if it was the Tigers. Like, I just think the Dodgers are the class of the league right now, and it's a whole different discussion how we feel about that. But this roster is just so stacked. There's no let up in the lineup. Even guys like Kike Hernandez, who suck most of the year, show up in October and become these superheroes. Like, and they've been there, they've done that. They did it just last year, famously. I just think this is a juggernaut, a dynasty that's in its early stages, and this is going to be the first back-to-back champ since the late 90s, early 2000s Yankees.
Yeah. I've got the Dodgers in 6. Very similar reasons. I gave an additional courtesy win because I would love to see them put a fight. I don't expect the Blue Jays to come out and win, barring some catastrophic happenings, but I would love to see just the meteoric rise of Vladdy in this postseason continue, and how cool it would be to watch him have a couple signature moments, even in a losing series, to just go up against the best of the best and be like, yeah, on the biggest stage against the biggest guys, I'm that dude. Because I love Vladdy. I'll root for Vladdy all day, every day. He's cool. I think he's good for the league. But he's probably going to lose. So, Dodgers in 6 should be fun.
Did the Dodgers win on the road last year?
Yes. Yeah, we won in Game 5 at Yankee Stadium.
See? Matt's got him winning on the road again this year.
That's what I'm saying. And, last year, Dave Roberts made the decision to sacrifice, Brent Honeywell to the gods.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he does it again this year to get that extra bit of rest. We pick up an extra win here. There's got to be a guy in that bullpen who can put up 100 pitches and just die, right?
It will sadly be Clayton Kershaw, probably.
Yeah,
his last outing of his career.
Yeah. It's so sad.
You got to try to avoid that as much as possible if you can. That's a whole different thing. That just against the Phillies, man, he caught the ugly, and it was a hard thing to watch. But okay, so Horacio, option to pick. You don't have to. You're the fan. You don't want to jinx it. You don't have to.
I'm riding Dallas. I'm not scared. I agree with Drew. I think Dodgers will win in 5. That is my bold prediction. I think there is going to be. I'm giving the Blue Jays enough credit in their lineup that they can definitely just get one of us. Right? There's always that game where a pitcher just doesn't have it. Whether it could be Blake Snell, it could be Yoshinobu, or it could be anyone. It can be any of these 4. Even it could be Ohtani. Right? I know that it's just baseball. It happens. No one's perfect. There's always that one day where someone doesn't figure it out. I think it will be at home, and I'm actually kind of scared because I think it will be Game 1. That's my kind of extensive bold prediction that the Dodgers will lose Game 1. Just because I don't know. Maybe this is the paranoid Dodger fan in me. I'm like, oh my god, everything's good, and Vladdy hits 2 home runs off of Blake Snell, and it's like, oh my god, we're gonna lose, and then we just take care of business the rest of the series. So. I'm excited. Again, it feels a little bit unreal of this is finally what I've been waiting for a while, of this is the true dominance that we've been expecting from this organization
for 300 and something day.
So
this was the plan when all these guys got brought on, is for the postseason to look like this. And this is what it's looked like this year, finally, for them. So, we can let you go, or you can stay for the rest of the show. Up to you.
I'll hang out. I like this.
All right.
Horacio, real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I was at Game 3 of the NLDS in LA, so I got a free towel. I don't need it, so this is yours if you can answer a trivia question.
Oh, man. Okay.
All right, you ready? Before Shohei Ohtani in Game 4 of the NLCS, who was the last Dodger to hit 3 home runs in a playoff game?
So there's two Dodgers in my brain, and I'm not sure which one's which. I'm gonna say it was Chris Taylor.
This right here. This is coming to you.
There you go. Ah, baby.
it was,
There you go.
yeah.
Yeah, I think was that in 2021?
Yeah.
It was in 2021.
And then Kike was 2017.
Yep.
And Albert Pujols.
Albert Pujols?
No.
He did it in the
Oh,
World Cup.
he did. Oh, like you're saying. Oh, okay. Sorry, I forget that he was a Dodger, and then, but he also has like a very extensive career everywhere else.
Chris Taylor, of course, Angel legend. Okay,
Oh, yes.
let's move on. Let's move on because we need to do one more thing before we leave, which is we need to memorialize the two teams that were eliminated from the playoffs since the last time we recorded. We've been doing this since about 3 weeks left in the regular season, whenever teams started to get eliminated, and we are going to continue to do it for these next couple teams here. So. Look, we don't need to belabor the point. Let's start with the Milwaukee Brewers, and let's go to Drew for some details on how they ended up passing from postseason contention.
Yeah, my clever answer to why the Brewers are no longer playing is that the Phillies didn't take care of business against the Dodgers. But the reality is they just faced the Dodgers, and the Dodgers are a better team than the Brewers despite the regular season records. They were just overmatched. I mean, Matt pointed it out earlier. It was like the worst OPS in a playoff series by a team as a whole ever. They just never got it going. And, there was a moment in game one in the ninth inning where maybe they were going to come back. And then once that got shut down, they just never really had a shot again, it seemed like. And to me, this is a problem with a team like the Brewers, and I did bring this up as we were heading into the postseason of why I'm not totally bought in on them, is they just don't have the star power that you need in October. I mean, we just talked about the Blue Jays at length. A huge reason why they're moving on is because Vladdy and George Springer showed up when it mattered. If the Mariners had won that series, it was because Julio and Cal Raleigh showed up when it mattered. The Dodgers are moving on because they have 4 superstar starting pitchers, 4 of the best in the game when they're healthy. Not to mention Shohei just being a freak of nature. So the Brewers just don't have that. And I think Jackson Chourio maybe someday can be a superstar player. He's not there yet. I think Christian Yelich once upon a time was a superstar player. He is no longer that. Freddie Peralta is a very good pitcher. Is he in this upper echelon? I'm not so sure. So it's just, they just didn't have the length in the lineup, and as great as they were as a team unit, once you run into that harder competition, you need someone who can be a star, and they just didn't get that. What can they look forward to in, the offseason and into next year? Well, they're still one of the best run organizations in baseball. That's clear, because after everything I just said, they still have the best record in baseball this year. I already have seen tweets where it's like, oh, they're going to shop Freddie Peralta because it's a contract year for him. That sucks. That's not a good move in my opinion, but they did it before. They did it with Corbin Burns, and it worked out fine. Like they're a team that somehow can make these moves and still have it work out. I mean, Devin Williams last year, they traded him to the Yankees. That ended up being a great trade for them. So they get the benefit of the doubt from me in being a competitive team year in and year out. The unfortunate thing is they're never going to be that team that spends a ton of money in free agency or makes that huge trade that is a buying move instead of a selling move. And until they do, I don't think I'll ever think of them as like a top tier contender. But if you're a Brewers fan, expect winning baseball once again next year.
Yep. Good summary there. Rest in peace to the 2025 Brewers. You were great while we had you. Horacio, one question for you. Obviously, they did not win a game against the Dodgers in the championship series, but I want to know, what game were you the most scared, and at what point that they might win one?
I think it was game 2 when Max Muncy hit a grand slam, and then he didn't. And now that just felt like, oh no. Like this is it. Like this is how we start losing because we just I don't know. That was just like yeah, it was just insane. Like I actually during the game I had no idea it hit the wall. So I was like, wait, what the heck is going on? Like I thought and it was so funny because it felt literally like a year ago that happened to us with the Mets. So it was just like, what's going on? Like these are the signs. These are like, you know, Etsy witch kind of stuff right now going on. Like I was terrified for a bit, but after I don't know. Like again, I'm just a paranoid fan in general, or I just you know just see everything glass half empty kind of thing. I'm like, oh man, come on, oh you threw a ball in the first pitch, right? Like come on, you got to get ahead. Like I don't know, it was fine.
It wasn't in game one when Trinan was on the mound, bases loaded, and he almost hit Bryce Terang.
Oh, I know, right? No, yeah, not even then. Again, like I think it was literally like, oh my god, the dumbest way to get out of an inning without scoring just happened. But again, I think the biggest thing was just whenever we scored, we would throw up a zero right after, right? That wasn't a thing when the Brewers and the Cubs were playing. Like Brewers would score or the Cubs would score, and then right after there'd be a response. That wasn't really a thing during this Dodger-Brewer series.
Yep, no question. The response wasn't there a lot of the time for sure. Okay, so we have one more team to say goodbye to, and that is the Seattle Mariners, who fell to the Toronto Blue Jays in 7 games. And so Matt has notes on the Mariners and how they came to pass.
Yeah, I mean, thoughts and prayers to my Seattle Mariner fans. I know a lot of you, and they have been particularly sad and heartbroken the past, 12 hours, 24 hours. It's a tough way to go out, but ultimately, I think when you look at that series and you look at what was happening, I feel like the thing that let them down, the cause of their inevitable death, was their pitching. This is something that was supposed to be a huge strength of theirs. And you look at the entire playoff run that they had, they were the first team to score, and they were holding leads in like almost every single game they played. And yet they were going through these series giving up, late runs, and they had pitching from guys, and we saw from even some of their best guys. I believe it was Kirby had a bad game or two. Even Gilbert had a bad game. Like Luis Castillo didn't have a great game at one point. And it's like we talked about with the Dodgers earlier, it's like you need your starting pitchers to go, in theory, especially in playoffs, you want them to be getting that quality start. Like that's what you're hoping for, is you can get that 6 innings, 3 or less runs. And they were having guys getting knocked out in, the 3rd, 4th inning. And then all of a sudden you have the 19-inning game or whatever it was against Blue Jays. You just burn your bullpen, and at the end of the day, it just looked at the end of the day, it just seemed like their pitching was losing steam. Like they just weren't able to sustain that success right up to the very end. And they had a lot of great plays from a lot of great players, but they just, I don't know. I think their pitching really is what did them in. And I know some Mariners fans would argue maybe there's some managerial decision-making that went into that. Munoz was on 3 days rest and doesn't even have a chance to come in and kind of save them from that situation. But at the end of the day, the manager made his decision. He played the matchup, and it backfired. It happens. But yeah, I think ultimately pitching is what did them in. What they can look forward to, however, is they're still a really great team. I mean, they were in the position to buy at the deadline, and they were able to bring in, Josh Naylor and Eugenio Suarez, and that's awesome. Like that was the team that was already in place, and now they have the decision to make on whether they're going to re-sign guys like Naylor and Suarez. But clearly they have this mentality now of like, okay, they did enough to buy last year. And now going into this offseason, they've seen, they were 1 game away from the World Series. Like, if that's not enough to push a front office into really just pushing the chips in, I don't know what is. But I think about this team like, what if they re-sign Naylor and Suarez and then go out and are competitive in the Kyle Tucker market? Like, what if they bring in just one more big player or go out and trade for just one more, either bullpen arm or whatever. Like, could they bring in just enough? And it feels like they're there. This coaching staff and manager like really turned around this offense, and so it feels like there's a lot of things are pointing north for Seattle right now. The fan base was absolutely killer down the stretch. And I think that always goes a long way as well, as they had the success, and Seattle fans were packing the stadium at like 1 p.m. on a weekday. Like they were showing up and showing out for Seattle. And so I think, yeah, they just have a lot to look forward to be honest. They're in no way, it's heartbreaking to lose, but they should not be disappointed in the team. Like, they were there up until the very end.
Furthest they've ever
and in sports. Yeah, and again, it's dude, that's the beauty and the heartbreak of sports, is it is a coin flip every time, right? Like, it comes down to a couple things here or there, and that makes all the difference. And your season ends. That's why playoffs is so crazy. Like, it's just one of those things. But I think they have a lot to look forward to.
I really do hope they spend money this offseason. They've been hesitant to do that in recent years, but once upon a time, they gave Robinson Cano that big deal. They gave Nelson Cruz a big deal. Like, maybe they can see that this team is right on the precipice, and they'll invest in it. And they'll have to, because like you said, Josh Naylor and Eugenio Suarez were huge parts of their success down the stretch. And in the playoffs, they each had their turns having big moments. Both those guys are free agents. So, you got to spend some money to even stay where you're at. I hope they pony up and do it.
Yeah. Horacio, while we have you here, maybe give Mariner fans a little something. Would you have been more scared of the Mariners than you are the Blue Jays?
I don't know. I think they're both just the same side of a coin, and I don't even know if that's the right way to say the phrase. Like, they both are pretty much the same team on paper. I think, again, like Matt was saying, like, the Mariners pitching, like, that has been the thing about them for the past 3 to 4 years, or maybe 2 years. And it just wasn't there. Again, the injury of Brian Wu was really, really big. Could have maybe made a big difference between him and Luis Castillo pitching, right? I think they're a good team. Again, I just hope. Again, I'm on the side of, hey, all of these owners are millionaires, billionaires. Like, you need to spend money. Like, that's how you keep a fan base happy. You spend money. Will they get? I think Naylor would definitely is a good culture fit for them. I don't think Eugenio's gonna come back. I just don't think he did enough for them. I think it was kind of like, hey, like, we'll take you back one more time and see if we like it. I was like, yeah, no, I don't think this is gonna work out. I don't know. Again, there's so many free agents that are gonna become available. Like, I just thought in my head, like, what if Alex Bregman was like, hey, I'm gonna opt out. I'm not gonna play with this team, right? Maybe for a couple 2 to 3 year deal. But again, it all comes down to who's willing to, if they're willing to open their pocket, their checks, and bring good talent to Seattle. But they're great. I think. I mean, at this point, I thought either team is going to lose, and sadly, it wasn't the Mariners. Right? You get to wait one more year.
Yep. What's one more for the Seattle Mariners? So goodbye to the Mariners. 2025 was good to you, but not quite good enough. All right. So before we end the show and get out of here, I teased it at the beginning. We have another emergency edition of Fan Corner that was required because one of our teams hired a manager. There are two of us that need one. And one of us got one,
and
which
Roberts
was
is gone?
yeah, no. So the Angels hired Kurt Suzuki as their manager. He is going to replace Ron Washington and take over the role. I'll briefly just address this from my perspective, but I think 2 weeks ago or so was when the Pujols thing started. Torrey Hunter was also early in there, and I was like, okay, either of those would be fine. I prefer someone with managerial experience. I prefer like an older guy, but if it's either one of those, that's okay. Like, it makes sense. They're both big parts of the organization. Like, that's fine. It wouldn't be what I would do, but I would not be mad. And then I started hearing things like Brandon Hyde was circling the Angels, and that made me even a little more like, oh, okay, I could get on board with that. Like, no big deal. He just had experience with a bunch of young players that came up and did well, and the Angels are kind of in a position right now where they have some guys that are coming up and doing well. Maybe he could help. And then, like, this weekend or so, I saw something that gave me just a real pit in my stomach, which is that they were interviewing Kurt Suzuki. And I don't know, something just told me in that moment that this is where it was going to end. And so when it finally happened today, I think that, I just kind of accepted it in the moment. If they want to go the former player route, they could have picked worse former Angels, I guess. But what it comes down to is the reason the Pujols talks fell apart, right? It comes down to the fact that Pujols wanted to hire his own people and have control of his coaching staff. And that would require Artie Moreno to not have as much control as he wants, right? He is an owner that really prioritizes having as much control as possible, having as much say as possible, and he did not get the impression that Pujols would be amenable to that. And so in a similar situation as like Perry Manassian finds himself in with the Angels, and why he continues to stay the GM is because he figured out that all you need to do is give the impression that you are going to be a yes man for Artie, and he will hire you, and as long as you do that enough, you'll keep your job. So Kurt Suzuki figured that out, and he probably did the same thing, and so that's why he's here. And that's how it'll continue to be until the Angels are under new ownership, whenever that is. It is what it is. I'm not stoked. It's not the greatest thing to ever happen to me in the world, but it is what it is. Any thoughts from anybody on Kurt Suzuki? I can't imagine there are, but if anyone has any, I'd love to hear them.
I just realized that the Angels are just the Dallas Cowboys of the MLB. You have like one of the richest owners who just meddles in everything and ruins everything, and is just this I don't know. I'm realizing the Angels are the Cowboys, which is crazy.
If only Artie Moreno had ever done anything to earn our respect at any point. At least Jerry Jones has 3 championships.
Sure.
Like, he wants all this control. Has anyone, like, not even on the Angels, has anyone in his life sat him down and been like, hey man, maybe you're not good at that part? Like, it's not worked at all. But I don't really
Anthony
have
Rendon, I heard, did that, and some stuff happened behind the scenes there.
I don't have too much to say about Kurt Suzuki specifically. I don't, like, he was a name that back when he was playing was identified as a potential future manager. I'm kind of with you, Dallas. I would have preferred someone who's been coaching at the major league level, even if not managing. We'll see. But I do think this is kind of a side note that we'll talk about somewhere down the line in the offseason. But the Rockies fired people and are kind of overhauling their front office because they finally have learned that the way they were doing things differently than everyone else was bad. We could be in for an era, as long as Artie Moreno keeps doing this, the Rockies could be moving up above the Angels. I don't know. Like, I'm not saying like as a team, like record next year or anything, but as a well-run organization. It depends who they hire, of course, but like, I don't know.
The only thing that keeps the Angels from being the worst run organization in baseball right now is that they somehow continue to float around, 500 or between 500 and 10 games below. 100. Like if they were losing, like not even how the Rockies are losing, but anywhere close, they would be objectively the worst run organization in baseball. But because everything else is just a mess. So you're not wrong. Like they are one a couple of good Rockies, off seasons and stuff away from being the worst run organization in baseball consensus. 100%. I agree. But anyway,
do you
Marlins are
think the
still up
Angels see their first 100 loss season under Suzuki, or does he stay the course?
I don't know if what I think the Angels are going to be about next year would be necessarily capable of that if they're all healthy for the majority of the season. I don't know though. You just never know what's going to happen, but I think that they'd be a little bit better than hopefully ending up on the 100 loss radar, but we'll see. I don't know.
Before we transition out of it, Dallas, I need to hear the gut reaction here. Right now, in the moment, your final season prediction for the Angels.
Yeah, 2026, how they're going to finish. That's what we all came to this podcast for. We came to talk Angels, and I'm glad we did it. So that's going to do it for our episode this week. Big ups to the big man, Horacio, for joining us to talk his Dodgers. We appreciate all the insight you gave us and for the great hang. Yes, just know that you're always represented on this show right there over Matt's shoulder. Other than that, thanks for watching. If you tuned in, make sure to stay tuned for our NFL episode later this week. Check that out. And subscribe here so you don't miss it. Let us know in the comments how you think the World Series is going to go. We'd love to hear from you. Follow us on Instagram and things like that as well. We are going to get, we want to get some action going there too. So let us know. But other than that, thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll see you next week. Goodbye.